Hey, everybody! Welcome into another episode of the Connection Loop podcast. I am here with a special guest today, and her name is Jordan Villanueva, and she is an expert in the field of marketing. She's had a wonderful journey that we want to share with everyone today, because as you know, these podcast episodes are all about the sales and entrepreneurial journey from A to Z and what we can learn with that journey. And Jordan has been an expert in her field. I'm going to not give it away, but she started in one place and she ended another, which is an amazing journey. But Jordan, welcome into the podcast.
Well, thanks so much, Rob, and thanks for having me as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I want to start right away with, what we're kind of going to be talking about here today. And the big part of it is driving B2B sales on LinkedIn with video. It's a big thing that you talk about. And, with the company that you started, talk to me a little bit about the journey before we get into what this is going to be about today in terms of this strategy. Talk to us about the beginning and where you started. And I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, I started in one place. I started off as a software engineer right out of school. And I was working as a front-end developer for around 3 years and a bit. And during that time, it was super technical, and it's so different from like creating video content. So everything was I was working as like a front-end developer for a mortgage company.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was doing was I was creating their mobile software. So specifically, I was working with iOS and I was working with Android. And it was fun. It was great. Like, I still love the technical aspect, and especially with AI right now, it just kind of rings home a little bit. It hits a little bit close to home.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, while I was working at the software job, it's kind of like this strange transition that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at my software job, and during this time, the pandemic hit, like during 2020. So we were able to work from home a little bit more, and especially with having a lot more time given back to us from having to do the commute. I was commuting like an hour to work. I was able to, I was just looking at ways that it's like, oh, I think it'd be like nice to figure out a way that you can make like some money on the side. So since I had no idea even where to start on how to make money on the side, I was just like, let me just do what everybody would do and just Google. So I went into, and this kind of goes into like a rabbit hole, but I'll keep it as short and sweet as possible. But I Googled how to make money online. And you find all of these ideas, like you find copywriting, you find drop shipping, you find creating an agency. And since now I was out of school and I was just paying my own bills and I was making money, I'm like, okay, let's try drop shipping, because people have like told me you can make all this money through drop shipping. So even if it doesn't work, let's just at least give it a try and say that we at least gave it a fair go. So I went into drop shipping, and I had to figure out how to do Facebook and Google ads. And I've never done Facebook or Google ads, even opened the interface before. So I was working on that. I had to look for a product. I found a product that worked very well. And at one point, this product worked so well with Facebook ads that I was able to quit my job. So I left my job kind of on a whim. And then like 3 months afterwards, the company started to go downhill, and I didn't know how to recover it. So I made not like an enormous amount of money, but like I made a livable amount of money from my drop shipping endeavors. And I learned a little bit about Facebook ads and Google ads and how to create like a mediocre advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I didn't want to like keep throwing money at a product that I didn't see it going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do in the meantime? I don't want to go back to drop shipping. I can't go back to my original company.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just do Uber Eats for a bit. So I did Uber Eats for like around 2 months, around 2 months.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm like, I have to figure out some kind of model that I don't have to keep investing a bunch of money, and I can just and I can pay the bills. So I'm like, I have two skills. I have the skill of like, I know how to run Facebook and Google ads. And then I also have a skill of engineering. So I went on to Upwork and I went on to Fiverr. And I started just to get gigs in either software engineering or in marketing. And I was getting more people asking for since I had like the numbers, the screenshots of how much I was making selling this one product on Facebook. People were hiring me more to manage their Facebook ads and Google ads. So I was like, okay, cool. This is good because now at the very least I have money coming in.
Yeah.
And it was good. Like I had clients, but at this point, I got to the level where I'm like, okay, I want to make this an agency, but I didn't have enough clients and I wasn't charging enough to make it an agency. I was just getting enough money to like keep the lights on in my apartment.
Yeah.
So after that, the turnover rate of clients was like pretty high, and I was just like some random online contractor for Facebook ads and Google ads. So to summarize this part, I started to niche down after a lot of trial and error, and I started to get inbound clients coming into me from just creating video content on Instagram and on TikTok. And to summarize this part, a lot of trial and error, and then I started to niche down onto LinkedIn. Yep. When I got onto LinkedIn, I knew that like that's where my ideal clients were going to be. And since I already had the skill of like, skill like very loosely put, but the ability to speak in front of a camera with somewhat ease from short videos on TikTok and on Instagram, I'm like, okay, let's transfer this onto longer form content on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and then let's see how this goes. Yeah. And after that, like we just started posting daily on LinkedIn, and we started to get like niching down on exactly what we did, which was video content for B2B SaaS companies. And then and then after that, the rest is basically history. But in short, everything from engineering all the way to creating a marketing agency for B2B software, it was a long transition period, but eventually we got there.
That's amazing. Yeah, you went from the drop shipping allowed you to drop your job over there, and then you started doing your other stuff. So that's you learn on the fly. You learn very quickly, obviously, and you're able to apply all of that, which is amazing. Because I think a lot of people in sales and people that are entrepreneurs that kind of watch this podcast and pay attention to news in general, we all have to be really fleet of foot and be able to adjust very quickly in this world. And I think that you showing the ability to do that is pretty amazing. Going from the engineering world to learning marketing, Google ads, everything you were talking about, and move yourself into that space. Being the founder now of a company, Nueva Media, how does that feel being at the top now as far as, hey, you've got this company now, it's built, you're doing your thing. It must feel so different than being the engineer that you were before.
Yeah, like it definitely feels different. Like there's definitely still so much I don't know. And I think it's cliche, but it's true. Like the more you learn, the more you figure out that you don't know anything.
Right.
But at least so much of the skills are so transferable, especially with like organization. Because what I love about I was even thinking about this like a few nights ago too. There was I had one of like the senior engineers who he was helping me out a lot when he was onboarding me back in the day.
Yeah.
And I really admired him because he was honestly the best front end engineer that I've ever seen. And he was so specific in that niche. Like if you needed a front end website developed or anything in JavaScript, which is a coding language to be developed, he was like the go-to guy. And it was kind of like, if he ever needed to figure out a problem, he would figure that problem out. He would go like to the depths of like Stack Overflow, or he would contact whoever he needed to contact to like figure out this bug. And I've never seen somebody so adamant about figuring out a problem in such a specific niche of engineering. And I was like, it was really inspiring to see him do that. Because he wasn't like too much older than me. I think he was like probably like 4 or 5 years older than me back in when I started. And it made me think like, if everything is kind of like can be traced back to an engineering problem that you can just solve by going into something, then why can't you transfer those skills or that like desire to solve a problem into the real world? Because I think that that's the same thing. Like even building a business.
Yes.
I don't have any background in building a business, but I think everything is like a skill. Just like engineering is a skill, building businesses is also a skill that you can develop. if you want to look for the answers and if you want to seek the skill to make a business come alive.
Yeah, you're a great case study, as far as that, because like you said, being an engineer is problem solving. Well, ironically enough, so is sales.
Mm-hmm.
Sales is very much challenge overcoming and providing the right information. So for me, I think that's a nice transition into talking about really the topic today, driving business to business sales on LinkedIn with video. Obviously, you love video. We love video here at Dubb. We've been big proponents of it since day one with us. We're all about sending videos that are actionable, authentic, real, and people respond. People respond. They can hear you, can see you, they can trust you. Talk about this strategy that you have that you've been really, really good on in terms of getting on LinkedIn. So if you're a sales professional out there, a rep, VP of sales, manager, entrepreneur, you have your own company, talk a little bit about your experience and the success you've had with the LinkedIn strategy you have for B2B.
It's been really good, to be honest, creating video for LinkedIn. But I think that it's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more that like went into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally, like when I was trying to get clients originally, I was just like sending cold emails and doing cold calls, and those, I'm sure that they convert for people, but I don't think like for the majority of people they convert anymore. Because people get like so on the defensive, and myself included too. If I get like a cold call or a cold email, I'm like, I don't want to be sold something right now. They're interrupting in the middle of my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just everybody's so sensitive to being sold to, again, myself included, whenever I get a DM or whenever I get a call.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I was talking about with my team too, last Friday, was that we're like, the best marketing, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this before, but the best marketing is marketing that you don't even know that you're being marketed to.
Very true.
So it's when you cold call somebody, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it's so intrusive, and you're just like shoving yourself in the middle of somebody's busy day,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on the defensive and they want to hang up as soon as they figure out it's a cold call. But even with like, there's podcasters and YouTubers that I follow that I love watching their stuff. And just even if I'm having lunch or something, or I just see them when I'm scrolling on my phone, I watch so much of their content that I feel like, even though they obviously have no idea who I am, I feel like I already know them, even though the relationship is like 100% one-sided. I feel like I already know them because they're not like forcing themselves into my day. It's just I see them so consistently. And that's one of the ideas that came up with LinkedIn. Because instead of me having to like jump on all of these calls or send all of these cold emails, I can just focus on creating this video one time and having it as a 24/7 salesperson and putting it on LinkedIn. And people are already getting like familiarized with how I look, how I sound, what exactly our ideas are. And even for myself, I can say the same thing. Like when people, I'll use myself as the example, but when even I come up with an idea that I think is my own, I feel so much more inclined to kind of go that route, as opposed to somebody like selling me this idea, because I came to this conclusion on my own, like quote unquote on my own.
Yep, no, I get it. Yeah.
And whenever this sale goes through, there's so much like less touch points that you need to do whenever you create video. So video content, we're probably pretty much, I would say, like now 100% focusing on video content on LinkedIn for high ticket sales, because we don't have to like keep going on calls. We don't have to keep going on sending out emails, and then we can just run these videos on repeat. And again, we can establish all of these touch points for higher ticket items. And I think LinkedIn is also, the last point I would say for this is that LinkedIn is super untapped as opposed to other channels such as Instagram and even Facebook, where we've grown accounts on there. But LinkedIn, I feel like, in my opinion, I could be wrong with this, but I feel like people also really don't understand LinkedIn 100% yet. So they don't know. They're like, should we write text? Should we do videos? And I think that for that, like, the answer is like, yes, do all of that.
Right.
But it's something that's like still super unsaturated. And I think that especially combining like video and LinkedIn for B2B is going to be very, very powerful in the next few years.
Well, I like how you had, the phrase use face forward, in terms of marketing. And I like how you also talked about the different mentality on LinkedIn that there is on IG and Facebook, where you're on those different areas where, you're a little more akin to say, oh, I'm going to watch some funny cat videos for a while and maybe I'm a little entertained, right? Like, oh my God, that's funny. Whereas when you're on LinkedIn, you're more of in business mode, sales mode, entrepreneurial mode, getting serious mode. So it's a different kind of feel. And like you said, it is very untapped in terms of leaning into the face forward and the videos, but a different feel to the videos. Was there any correlation between growing your IG and Facebook, which are big numbers, 200K and 400K, to LinkedIn and any kind of like what kind of connects the two, even though the mood is different, so to speak, along with the content a little bit?
Yeah, I think the first thing that you said, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was that I think that the mentality is similar because I think a lot of people get discouraged putting themselves out there and not getting the likes that they think that would come with putting a video of yourself out there. So, for instance, even when I was starting with Instagram, we've grown now to 200,000 followers, and again, Facebook, like you said, it was like 400,000 followers.
Yep.
And when I was starting, I was just like at 1,000 followers with my Instagram account, and it came from the shoe company that I was originally marketing, and we were running paid ads there. So it already had like a few thousand followers from paid ads. Yeah. And at that point, we're like, okay, we're going to make this transition to creating like website videos, and it's going to be my face that's going to be put in front of people. And it was so disheartening to see that as soon as I started to film this kind of content, these kinds of reels on Instagram, the followers actually started to go down for not just like 1, but like 2 months, probably like a month and a half. The more reels that I put up, the less, the more followers that I would lose. And it's kind of disheartening to see because you're like, okay, this thing, it clearly doesn't work. And it's just losing me followers. But there's a lot of variables I think that people don't take into account when they create content, and they just see kind of like these vanity metrics of my followers are going down, or I'm not getting like 100 likes per post. And I've fallen into that trap so many times because when you see the followers go down, I was like an Instagram shoe company, and when I started to see the followers go down, I immediately thought it was because because basically the account was correcting itself for the audience. I had people who were following that account originally to buy shoes, and now I wasn't doing that anymore. So the account was starting to correct itself, and it took a few months to do that correction. And it also takes, it's like if you're buying a lottery ticket, right? You want to put as many, you want to buy as many tickets, like bear with me with this example, but you want to buy as many tickets as you can if you want to like win at the lottery, right? You can't just like put all your eggs in one basket. So the more videos I put out, the more chances I had to go viral, as long as I was seeing that they were still getting traction. So not all videos also go viral just because you post a bunch out there.
Sure.
But I posted more, and I knew people were like actually watching these videos because people were commenting. This was similar to a strategy that other people had been doing before, not copying, but doing something similar. So I wasn't reinventing the wheel. And basically all the variables were there that this on paper is going to work. But it's disheartening when you don't see those numbers that you want to see. And at one point it was so crazy because I remember like doing it for like a month and a half and not seeing any traction. And then I got one video that popped off that got like 30,000 followers. They got 1 million views, and it got me 30,000 followers, like basically overnight on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I thought them like, this is crazy. Like a month and a half of like doing nothing, of getting no traction. And then one day I got all of this. And it kind of goes to show too that it's kind of like with engineering to creating video content, like the skills are definitely transferable.
Mm-hmm.
Because same with LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I have even like to this day right now, I don't have so many followers on LinkedIn. I'm at like 1,600, which isn't like a huge number. But I know that with enough consistency, with enough learning from my mistakes, then eventually one post will catch that virality if you do enough corrections, and if you post consistently, and if you comment, and then that'll boost all the other posts. But I think it's more of a mental thing, that if people don't see that initial traction, then they get so discouraged, myself included, that they'll stop posting, or they'll think that this platform doesn't work, when that's really not the case. So I would definitely think, to answer the question, it would be like the headspace and the mentality that discourages people from continuing to post.
But like you said, the answer is the metrics, the consistency, the listening to what the algo is telling you, and like you said, you needed an audience correction once the content started changing. So I think reading all those different things, knowing what to look for, and I think from a sales perspective, for people in sales, I've talked to a lot of reps who are like, oh man, I hate doing social media. Like I like calling, I like doing whatever, I'll send the videos, but I'm not a big social media person. And the thing is, like, HubSpot introduced the whole marketing and sales thing, smarketing, a long time ago. But now it's like social media and sales, they're doing the same thing. It's the same Venn diagram, because a lot of the times when you send videos to someone, if you send someone a video, you're on your phone, you send them a sales video. Well, the format of portrait, they're used to seeing that on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Reels, and they're used to seeing your face and talking about stuff. So I feel like there is that mix of the two. And it's just about taking that to the conversion level, as opposed to just, just the social media follow level. It has to turn into money for the businesses that are doing that. So for you, I know there's one thing you talk about a lot, and it's called the video content creation story. So just talk a little bit about that in terms of like how it affects the sales aspect.
Yeah. And I mean, for the video content creation story, it's basically like bring the audience along for the ride of like what you've created, what you've done. And we do this also for like the clients that we work with as well, because I'm gonna kind of like take this like weird turn to like answer this question. But it's basically that even when I get on, because I have one of our employees, she helps me do the filming, and she helps me do the interviews. And a lot of times I get stuck, and I don't know what it is I need to talk about, what I should talk about. Like I don't think I'm a very interesting person to like to interview. But
I'd have to disagree so far. But go ahead.
I appreciate it, but I think it's because also we know our stories so well that we're like, oh, there's nothing interesting. Like this is just like the same thing over and over again to yourself, and I think that's very subjective.
Sure.
So, but even like with our clients, and even how you do here in this podcast too, if you ask somebody like the right questions of something that they're interested in, whether it's like their personal life, whether it's their whether it's about their company, whether it's about the product or service that they sell, if you ask somebody questions about like how much of about their expertise, then you would be surprised how much people can talk about if it's in their expertise. Like even in the sense that I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm like a super talkative person either. But even like how in this interview, like you're asking me questions, you're asking me about like my history, my software engineering, marketing. Then with things like that, I could talk about like for hours without any issues. And I think with like this sort of content creation, it's about finding the story of like each client that we work with, or each person that we work with, and even for our own content that we create, and asking these like very broad questions to kind of like get the ball rolling, and asking these specific questions again about the software, about the person's history, their personality, why they founded this company. And it starts, and then people will start talking, and when you film it, and then when you post it, and then it starts to create a relationship with the connections that people have on LinkedIn, and with the connections that people have on these social media platforms, without them really kind of effortlessly, to be honest. Just somebody like being themselves, talking, and posting it for other people to see.
Yeah, it's very easy to talk about things you're passionate about,
For sure.
and I think that, like you mentioned before, with the face forward marketing, it happens a lot. It happens a lot to us here at Dubb when we do our daily training, because myself and Darius and Ruben and we do a lot of videos for content. So a lot of the times, if someone comes into a demo, hey, I saw your video about, and they get a little bit of your personality, a little bit
Yeah.
of kind of how you do your stuff, and there's already kind of that camaraderie that's already kind of baked into the cake before you and I even get to know each other. Because like you said about that one way kind of mirror where you can see the other side, and now you get to open up and see the other side of it from the other person. So I think that's a really strong connection between social and sales that is very, very important. Talk about the SaaS company aspect of it, in terms of your history with that. That seems like a pretty comfortable lane, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we decided to go in SaaS, to be quite honest, SaaS we decided to niche down pretty recently. Mostly because of my history. The company that I was working for now almost like 3 years ago was a SaaS company. So they were selling software to brokers, and we were the ones who were developing that. So it was already something that I was familiar with, and we started originally. We started originally like being everything to everyone,
Sure.
and that got us like really high turnover rate. It got us like we couldn't pitch the price that we wanted to.
Yep.
So then we're like, okay, let's niche down to B2B. So I feel like those quite a few more of those on LinkedIn are more established from what we're able to track.
Yep.
And then we had already gotten like a few SaaS clients already. It wasn't nowhere near the majority of the clients that we got, but it was quite a few already. And one of the things I love to do was even now we have a client that's we have a few clients who are already in SaaS, and I love to talk about like the engineering side to it, and I love to ask them the technical questions about their software, because it's something that I can relate to, and then I can go like more in depth into that field. And the good thing is as well with this, I can answer this kind of in two ways as well, because when I was like back in the day, like a few years ago, I was chasing like mostly vanity metrics. So I was being like, well, we can get like so many likes, but all those likes and all those followers, they weren't leading to like the ideal customer that we were going after. But then when we started to like niche down, like when I ask like very niche questions to SaaS, to software developers, or to SaaS CEOs or CMOs, they can go like so in depth into like this like specific widget or this specific feature that their software has. And sure, that might not be like relevant to 99% of people. Like they wouldn't really care about that. But that wouldn't be like the ideal client. So even now, why we went so niche is because into SaaS is because now we can actually like pinpoint exactly who would care about these features, who would care about like the speed, all of these features that the software has, and I can actually like probe into that with SaaS companies, rather than just asking very, very generic questions and being very largely B2B. So of course there's always like a degree that you do chase the vanity metrics to like show your authority, for sure. But you can have like a post about your vacation in Hawaii, and it gets hundreds of thousands of views because it's easy for people to like relate to that. But it gets you no demos, versus if you have about like a widget, a feature, and it might get you like, I don't know, like 10 engagements, but it might also get you 10 demos as well that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. So that's why we wanted to niche down in it, so that we could actually probe SaaS developers, and we could actually put them on LinkedIn, and so that we can actually help them get their ideal customer that they're looking for.
Yeah, the good old ICP, your ideal customer profile. I think a lot of companies they start broad, they try to boil the ocean, and then they end up saying, no, I need to be boiling the pond, which is right over here.
I like that saying, boiling the ocean.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, but yeah, you're boiling the pond though. You're going local. You're going specific, which is really good. So this is a question I like to ask everybody, and this is a really good one for you because your brain is very specific. You've got a lot of experience in these different areas. You seem like a sponge in terms of just picking up information, but also knowing what to do with it within your strategies. So just taking this past year, what's the most important thing that you learned?
Just this past, like 2024.
Yeah, like calendar year. Calendar year within the past year.
Wow, there's so much. It's like so hard to boil it down to.
I'll bring it down to a pond level. So most important thing you learned from growing the company for you, for growing New Wave of Media.
The most important thing I've learned from growing the company.
Yeah, like what's been the thing that you've learned that's really helped the company grow? Where you see some, there it is. And maybe it is boiling down to the niche, like you said. That's a recent development, but
yeah. So I think like maybe I could say it to like two things. One would be like the technical and one would be the personal one, if that's allowed.
Sure, yeah, of course, whatever. Yeah, go.
So sorry. So in the technical aspect, I would say like I always, because I had a lot of mentors while I was doing this. I was like reaching out to mentors, and so many of them were telling me, they're like, you have to niche down, like you don't even know who your ICP is. And I was like, no, but I just like want the money coming in. And it's great, like obviously you need money to run a business, there's no doubt. Sure. But it's good like when you're starting off, like keep it broad, see what works. But at one point, if you want to scale the business to do I guess impressive quote unquote numbers, then you're going to have to like niche down, and you're going to have to find exactly who your ICP is. And that's something that I really wish I would have asked myself maybe like a year before this, even like in 2023, would be like, who exactly is your client? Because then you can actually figure out what platform that they're going to be on. And then on the personal level, kind of just that actually ties in with this, is that I think like one of the big things too is like that you have to have like a degree of humility as well. Because when I had mentors telling me this about like find your ICP, know exactly who your client is, I was so much like, no, I'm getting like all this business coming in, I don't need to boil it down. But like they're in that place for a reason. Like they've obviously, some technology obviously changes, but they already have like the core fundamentals down of how to develop this business and how to like build this skill. And I think having that degree of humility and being like, okay, like I don't have a background in business, it's like just software development, but having that degree of like, okay, maybe this isn't your lane, and maybe that there's a lot of people who know a lot of stuff that you don't know, and you have to listen to them more, would have sped up the process a lot more. So I think that the combination of that too, which ties together, so ICP and then having humility, so that you can learn from your mistakes and so that you can learn from others as well.
Well, again, like you mentioned at the top, it's about a skill set, and you have, learning these things is all about getting the knowledge, getting it, practicing it, putting it in, implementing it, and then using it, and then adjusting from there. And you've shown you're a shining case study of that example. So that's amazing. Last thing I want to ask you here, and this is a good one because I said that was going to be the last one, but no, I added another one because I like this one. What's your favorite thing about AI? Because AI is obviously everywhere now. In fact, everybody out there, we're actually AIs. We're not actually humans. So pretty impressive. I'm just kidding. It's going to be that way though soon. It's going to be the AI Rob talking to the AI Jordan about what's going on. So talk to me about AI.
Yeah, with AI, I'm so curious about it because I don't know if it's going to be like a hot take, but I feel like anybody who calls themselves like an AI expert, I just don't like go on that. I just don't understand how someone can call themselves an AI expert because there's so much like going on that I feel like the most qualified people about AI wouldn't even say that. But with the AI, at least, like I'm so curious to see how it's going to enhance a lot of things about people. And a lot of things about, I think it puts a lot of people on the same platform in a lot of technical aspects.
Mhm.
And I'm so curious to see where that goes, because even with like software development, of course you're still
Mhm.
going to need software engineers.
Mhm.
But now, if you've never written a line of code in your life before, you can literally just go onto like Claude Sonnet, or you can go onto ChatGPT or anything like that,
Mhm.
and you say like, create me a website, and it just like makes it for somebody who like studied sociology. You can just
Right.
they become a software developer in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna like even out the playing field for a lot of the technical skills.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, I think that it's also going. I think that a lot of like the creativity and like
Mhm.
emotional intelligence is gonna play a bigger role
Mhm.
than it has before.
Yes, I would
Where
agree.
where the barrier to entry has pretty much been leveled out for all the technical aspects. Now it's going to be like the more person to person connection. So I'm excited for that, for
Yeah.
everything to like get on the same playing field, or not same, but like similar playing field
Yeah.
with technical aspects. And I'm really curious to see how people just kind of navigate these emotionally and creative intelligence barriers.
Yeah, and I think AI, for us here at Dubb, we found a really good foothold into obviously ChatGPT is amazing. It can do
Yeah.
so much. Like you said, in 5 seconds, you go to ChatGPT University and you have your degree. But I mean, it can just do all these things so quickly. And for us, we love AI writers for our sales reps. Hey, I don't know what to say. Well, hey, what are you trying to say? And then you kind of put it in your own words. We have a sales assistant we use for sales reps. So I feel like AI, in my opinion, like the cool thing about it is as long as it's supplemental and supportive, I think those are two really important things. And it doesn't replace the human being. If it can scale the human being, cool in terms of what they do. But a lot of the times, the journey is the enjoyment. So, from an artistic point of view, I was telling you, cartooning and illustrating, right? That I like to do, and
Mhm.
whatever hobbies you have. Let's just take that as an example. Could I talk to an open AI and say, hey, create me a great white shark swimming in the ocean, having a beer, talking about, I could do all this fun stuff, be a really good prompter, put all that stuff in. It creates it beautifully. But the one thing it took away from me was the enjoyment of actually sitting and creating it, the actual illustrating of it. So the journey was enjoyment. So for sales reps, even though scaling is wonderful, I think it's a sales assistant, which is different than a sales rep. Because a lot of the times when people do sales, they love the back and forth. They love the conversation. They're excited to speak to someone. They want to get in a Zoom. So I think there is that evening of understanding where everyone falls. That's really, really important.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it was actually, I made a post today on LinkedIn too, that I was like, that everybody wants to use AI to to help them enhance their
Mhm.
or to help replace their content creation, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to consume AI as the content that is being created. And I'm like wondering, yeah, like again, I'm wondering where that's gonna go, and I'm
Yeah.
super curious to see if, I don't know, like maybe it'll be to the degree of looking super realistic, or not knowing if a post is made by like an AI or a person.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like it right now, at least, it's definitely going to be like an enhancement rather than a substitute.
No, that's amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us today, Jordan. I mean, you just unpacked a whole bunch of stuff that a lot of people can really learn from.
Mhm.
Everybody, it's Jordan Villanueva. She's the founder of Nueva Media. You can find her on LinkedIn as of right here. You can find her on LinkedIn. You can also go to their website, which is right there as well. And the biggest part, I think, for everyone today is understanding like your journey. Like I said, it's a really good case study. You started in one area in engineering and you became a marketer and you started this whole other thing, and you talked about how important it is for skill sets. So I think with sales and growing, and especially LinkedIn that we talked about, it's about aligning the learning, aligning your skill set, and then following a plan and listening to what the results are telling you. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jordan. Any last thoughts before we go? Anything you want to part? Any last second knowledge you want everyone to know about?
Um, any last second knowledge? I was
Mhm.
just say like go into video content creation on LinkedIn. It's super right now in 2025, the start of 2025. It's super unsaturated. So if you're gonna find your blue ocean, that's gonna be the blue ocean for a limited time. So get on it now.
Wonderful. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so
Fantastic
much, Rob.
episode.
I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Take care.